if the NRCS employees, my talk's going to be more geared toward the producers in the room, but would you all raise your hand just for a second? And the reason why is you all, the producers in the room, can kind of get an idea. If you have questions, who to talk to. I've got business cards. You'd be happy to talk to me, but ultimately, if you're local, one of those will come to visit you. So mainly I want to talk about two things. Number one, change, and then number two, ways to adapt to change. And I could cover it a lot of different ways. Today it's going to be very specific to the renovation of tall fescue and some of the opportunities we provide. The change portion comes into this. These two photos were taken in the last 3 weeks, and I took both of them. We know Pasture's in a rough shape this year, so if people are beginning, if you're looking at your pasture saying, I have to make change, I don't have an alternative this year, that makes changing to a novel fescue a whole lot more palatable when you're pressed up against the wall and you have to make a change. Then let's make a big change. Let's step outside that comfort zone a little bit and really look at how we can improve gains on livestock and palatability of livestock and fescue toxicosis. And here's part of the reason why. You look at the rainfall that we had in 2018, Paducah was 11 inches above normal, Jackson, Kentucky was 19 inches above normal, and we set a record 67, almost 68 inches of rain in Jackson, Kentucky at the National Weather Service station. So these conditions make change a whole lot more palatable. You can't be quite wishy-washy when your pastures look like that. Secretary Sonny Perdue, two-time governor of Georgia, and being a grandparent himself, he looks at a lot of stewardship. And, I think part of this, making these changes, we want to go to an improved forage variety that has a lot of benefits. Who are we doing it for? We're going to do it for the next generation. We're going to do it for the quality of our livestock. We're going to be doing it for the clients that we sell livestock to. So once again, looking at the big picture, it makes change a little more palatable, and we're more willing to accept it and embrace it. So now, what do we do? By title, I'm the grazing specialist for NRCS. Really, all of us are just conservationists. We want to fix resource concerns the best we can, and it's a broad topic. Today we're talking about forages, but that's soil, water, air, plants, animals, humans, and energy. So it's a broad category that we work in, and if you invite us to your farm, we can talk about a lot of different things other than just forages. But today, that's where I'm going to concentrate my topic. First off, in today's society, if you got questions, we've got a website. Everybody's got a website. You can go and begin to get some general information. Most importantly, how to contact us. This morning I had car trouble, so I said it was real nice to be able to go to a website. And it's ironic that I did this slide a few days ago. And then this morning, I'm going, okay, I got to find the office to find somebody to come get me because my car was towed. And so if you need to get hold of us, go to contact us, and it'll point you to the county that you're in and who you need to contact. Even if it's not about financial assistance, it's just, what, I've got something and I want to bring about change. How can I bring somebody out and get some advice? No cost, we're here to serve you. We start everything out with a conservation plan, and it's as a landowner, it's your plan. What do you want to do? The speaker from Missouri, Daryl Francone, Franson, he had a really good point that it was his place, and he was very proud of his sections or quarter sections and what he wanted to do with those. He had a plan. This is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to do it. I don't know if he worked with NRCS to go through that, but that's kind of the same thing we want to do. We want to craft a plan that fits in what you want to do at a timing that you're acceptable, what you're willing to do. We'll give you a lot of technical advice, but at the end of the day, it's your plan and what you want to do, and then how we can come in and assist you to address those resource concerns. And we've got great conservation partners, whether it's our conservation districts, Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. We've got people that can come in here and work with you on what you want to do. We start out with a good map, good soil map. And we're looking at what's the productivity potential, on your farm. We drove past that today. Chris is probably going, no. But we can give you some good information, even if you don't want to go through the financial process of getting assistance. There's still just a lot of good information that's available that, we can either show you how to do it yourself on Web Soil Survey, or we can do it for you to give you information if you're going to make that change. Okay, so I've decided that I do want to improve my forages. I've got a budget. Where's it best to put my money? And then we're going to look at, where's the best productivity if you're going to spend some money. Where's it best to do that? If we're going to put money into seed and really bring about change, let's put it somewhere that we're giving it the best. Productivity is moderate. Productivity is low. It's kind of one of these things. Let's give you the tools so you can make a decision. Let's give a seed the best chance I can and put it on some better ground. We saw the test plots, a couple hours ago that were on a fragipan soil. If you were a producer, is that where you want to target your money? And we can look at a soils map and work with you on your individual farm to put your money and your products and your desires and give them the best fighting chance they have. I was really tickled. I've seen Chris do that seed drill calibration several times, and I'll mention it again, but one of the key takeaways is calibrate your drill. There's 121 conservation districts in Kentucky. Not all of them have drills for rent, but an awful lot of them do. And you don't know who had it prior to you. So when you go to rent one, take the time to calibrate it. It's money well spent and time well spent to get the seed. If you buy enough to do 10 acres and you've now done 5 acres and your seed bins are empty, that's a sickening feeling to have. So take the time to do the good calibration. This comes right out of our forage and biomass standard. Ryan, is Ryan still here? Yeah. Well, I told you earlier I'd show you the chart, and you were asking about the novel tall fescue. And we heard this number repeated frequently. That's because we go with our land grant recommendations. So it's NRCS standard, yet we're following exactly what UK told us and helped us prepare this chart to do 25 pounds of novel endophyte tall fescue, when to plant it, when the ideal dates are, if you're going to do some sort of a mix. And those are right in our standards, and you can get those on the internet. Same, we have job sheets. So if you call us and we come out, we'll work with you with a written job sheet to go through step by step of what you need to do, how to control the competition. There's some great presentations on controlling that competition, operation and maintenance, drill calibration. Do you want to do a no-till seeding, conventional seedings? This gives you something that, we can help you fill it out, put it above the visor in your truck, and if you get around to it in 2 weeks, it's not, now, what did they tell me I had to do? Oh, wait, pull it out, and it's written down because it's, herbicide recommendations, seeds, fields, species, what fertility do you need, comments, and, when I was in the field, I'd put, calibrate the seeder, just as another reminder. We are here, number one, to do a conservation plan and help you get a plan, to get a goal and how to connect the dots to get you from I want an improved forage to I'm putting improved forages on my ground tomorrow. But to ease that change and to kind of overcome some of those burdens, and it's easy to say, well, that's expensive seed, or I'm really kind of uncomfortable doing this. I'm out a lot of money. What if it fails? Okay, so let's look at some ways to kind of ease that burden and take some of the fear out of it. If we can assist you with the financial side of it, it takes a little bit of risk out of that decision. It's still a big decision to make, but we're reducing some of that risk. It's really well laid out. It's a 5-step process. We just talked about planning and getting what you want. You go to one of the 121 offices. You can submit an application. You can submit an application online if you choose to do that. Eligibility is done through Farm Service Agency, and I'll show you here in the next slide the steps that you have to go through for that. And then we go through a process of ranking, which we're doing right now out in the fields, looking at the applications that we've taken. Our fiscal year starts in October. As you were well aware of the news, we had a challenging year for the federal government to start off the year. So we're a little behind on ranking, but we're working on ranking. And then if you choose to do a fall seeding, you would be ready, ready to go in September for a fall seeding. Farm Service Agency, in some locations we share an office, share a building with them. In some cases we don't, but you can always find your Farm Service Agency office, and then they can work with you on your records, eligibility, and it's things like ownership, partnerships, LLCs. You have to bring in a deed, some adjusted gross income and highly erodible land and wetland compliance questions. You fill out a few forms, and then that takes care of the eligibility portion of the application process. Now, here's where we get, and this Chris in his introduction talked about, what I was going to present, and I'm down to just a few slides left, so I know that the day's been long, but really in Kentucky, and I know we've got a couple states represented today, but for Kentucky producers, we've got 3 categories. The first one is available to everybody in the nation, no matter what state you're from, and that's the USDA Farm Bill program. And it's broken up into 3 different, well, it's broken up in several categories. For a forage seeding, you've got 3 opportunities. The first one is Environmental Quality Incentives Program. The second one is a Conservation Stewardship Program. And then for us in Kentucky, we have a Regional Conservation Partnership Program that's geared toward the equine operations. Out of the master settlement funds, then Kentucky took that money and put it back into agriculture, invested it back into our people. And we've got the state soil and water quality cost share program, and there's a pasture land best management practice. And then we've got either at the county level, some conservation districts administer it, some extension offices administer it, and then there's a few NGOs, non-governmental organizations that administer the Ag Development Fund, and it's called the County Agricultural Investment Program, and we know it as CAPE. But so you've got, the way I've always gave it when I was in the field, in a field office, you got 3 pots of money. There's the old commercial that said somebody's going to win, it might as well be you. This is not a lottery, it's a ranking process for all 3 of them. But if your name's not in the pot, if you have not applied, I guarantee you're not going to get funded. I can't guarantee you will get funded, but if you do not apply for any of them, you won't get funded. I can guarantee that. So I'm going to break each one of them out, and then I'll wrap up. But through Farm Bill programs, we had a new Farm Bill in 2018. EQIP is still in there. Kentucky specific, we have the horse overgrazing program, and then we have the general EQIP program that's available throughout the nation. And how we accomplish forage renovation, tall fescue renewal, is we have a conservation practice. It's 512 forage and biomass planting, and that would be what we would try to implement on your farm. The job sheet that I showed earlier, it comes out of that. The standard, the charts on seeding rates comes out of that standard, and that's through EQIP. There's no limits on funding. There are some issues on type of seed, and I'll cover those here in a second. Also under the Farm Bill, we have the Conservation Stewardship Program, and we have two different enhancements that focus largely just on forage plantings. They have titles like to help increase organic matter in depleted soils and for a water erosion control, but they're still based on your pasture land. So it's, I've got pasture land, I want to do some enhancements, and then we can look at which one best fits your farm. Is it more of the soils are dry, but they're just depleted of organic matter, or is it that they're wet soils, riparian soils, and how we can help you? Looking at the very specifics of the EQIP program, and it's been repeated many times today, it's a less than 5% endophyte infection rate. We don't name any one type of seed specifically because their research is changing fast. And as soon as we put something out, Farm Bill's last 5 years, in a 5-year period, if we named a seed variety, it would be changed and updated and outdated before we finish the Farm Bill. So what we're looking at is you have a less than 5% endophyte infection rate. So any seed variety that meets that is acceptable under the program, either 5 contiguous acres or 5% of your forage base. That way we're not discriminating against farm size.
That first statement up there, if the tall fescue is not identified, it has to be less than 5% infection?
Yes.
That must
Okay, yeah, it would be, yeah. It's infected with the alkaloid, the ergot alkaloid, but it's 5% toxic. Yeah, okay, that's the way it's written in the standard. Maybe we need to update the language a little bit. Okay, so the word we'd want is update it to toxic. Okay. But it's the same concept that we're looking at, is that the infection portion of it. Still looking at about five contiguous acres or 5% of the forage base if it's a smaller farm. And then if a cropland is being converted, we require that you do prescribed grazing management practice, and that's included in the contract. The other option, we did the state cost share program, soil and water cost share. Part of that process, and Craig's in here that wrote this manual, or a large portion of it. So I said it's great to have the knowledge here. But we're looking at getting what's the stocking rate, and you can read through what they're looking for on their stocking rate. Kentucky Graze is our forage livestock balance tool. It's available online. It's got a 5-year practice lifespan. The cost share limit is $7,500. That's what the landowner receives. You would spend $10,000 to get to $7,500. And same thing, we're looking at that grazing management. If they're going to spend the money to establish this forage, then we want it protected and managed appropriately so that we can at least get the 5-year practice lifespan out of it. And then lastly, we have the local program, and that's through the CAPE, the Ag Development Funds. We're looking at the certified seed. Always have to have a soil test taken in the last 12 months, following land grant institution recommendations. There is some additional available funding. It's not just the seed, but it's also getting it seeded, whether it's a custom service or labor or rental of equipment, but not the labor for using rental equipment. If you can hire it done, or you can rent the equipment to do it yourself. You just can't pay yourself. And then rental of the no-till drill, and then the spray equipment to get that control of what was originally there. Now, state cost share, the CAPE program goes ahead and it does name, this list is updated each year. So this came off the 2018 novel endophyte fescue list. I have a copy of it back in the back if you want to look at it. But under novel fescue, these are the 4 that are currently named on that list. So for the producers in the room, you've got 3 different options. You've got a lot of change and a lot of things that you're thinking about and you've heard today, to ease that transition, to think about bringing about change on your farm, take some of that risk away from it. There's 3 different opportunities.
Adam, let me just throw in, if seed companies are interested in having their variety on the state cost share list, then they should check with me because I make the recommendations to them.
Okay. Okay. This is not a choice on the government's behalf. This was the only one I could find a picture of the actual seed tag for a novel that was available online and free choice slides. And we've heard this repeated several times today. We all look at what's in the nutrition labels on what we eat and what we drink, and you spin a soda can around and you're like, oh, I can't believe I'm drinking that. Please take the time to read your seed tags. You're going to spend a lot of money on the bag of seed. It's going to hopefully make a dramatic improvement on your farm. So take a little bit of time and read through the labels. It's like I said, that picture, if you look at the date, it's an old picture, but it was the only one I could find that was actually a novel fescue online. But it's always amazing to me that people go to great lengths to take care of themselves, but when it comes to most people, their farm is their largest asset. And they're just like, I'm going to buy some seed. I'm going to buy some mineral. I'm just, So I do ask if you're going to do something on your farm, take the time just to at least read through the seed tags, read through the labels, what you're going to implement. And there's online, there's, through the USDA, and Chris has a great one. Go through once again, the takeaway message is calibrate your seed drill. We have this publication you can print off, it's online. So lastly, I'll leave you this picture. This is in Anderson County, Kentucky, and you know, he was thrilled to death, both hay and grazing. This field is just hayed. But, you know, it's wonderful that if you have a field that looks that nice. Are there any questions? I appreciate your time.
All right, let's thank Adam.